take note of this. 70 persons were invited. So obviously, 68 was present. But 2 that was written were in the camp. Now take note, they were not the only people in the camp. So there were more than 2 persons in the camp. But the Spirit of God knew the names of those that was written. And the Spirit only rested on just those 2. It shows you something about how God respects authority. How the Spirit of God, order in the house of God. Now, who wrote the 70 names? Not God, Moses. God told Moses to choose 70 men. It was Moses that chose the men, but God acknowledged Moses' choice. Who is here with me? God acknowledged Moses' choice. The Spirit didn't just come upon everybody in the camp, just the 2. The 2 who were written to. Get that scripture back up. It says, and they prophesied in the camp. So suddenly there was commotion in the camp. Those 2 started prophesying. It was strange. You see the next thing that happened, the next verse. And there ran a young man and told Moses and said, Eldad and Medad, do prophesy in the camp. I like what Moses replied. Next. And Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his young men, answered and said, my Lord, forbid them. Stop them. Don't allow this kind of foolishness to continue. Sometimes as leaders we can be extra zealous. Pastor, this person has committed a crime. Let's kill him. Let's finish him. Then a pastor speaks like Moses. Next verse. Look at Moses' reply. Moses said unto him, envious thou for my sake? King James doesn't really put it nicely. Let's get a newer translation. NIV. Are you jealous for my sake? Amplified. Are you envious or jealous for my sake? Message. Are you jealous for me? When you listen to the message, 7 inspirations for success, one of the things that Pastor talked about was the inspiration of his example. And in discussing the inspiration of his example, he talked about the example of his love. The example of his love. And he told the story of Peter. How that Peter had denied Jesus 3 times. But when Jesus rose from the dead, he didn't come attacking Peter. Instead, he asked him a question. He said, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, I do. Then he said, feed my lamb. Then he said, asked him again, Peter, do you love me? He said, by the 3rd time, he confirmed his assignment. Because the word that he used was different. The last word he used was to tend or govern my lamb. You could imagine that anybody who was eyeing Peter's position, after the catastrophic, I'm looking for the word. After the catastrophic, where are the English people? Group pastors. Pastor Oliver, you have English. You have plenty English. Calamitous, earth-shaking denial of Jesus, not once, not twice, but thrice. You'd have think that Peter has lost his status. He will never be the governor. But Jesus said to him, he said, govern my sheep. Govern my sheep. And you'd have just said, I can imagine someone say, you mean you have a plan for him after this? Some people can be more jealous for God than God is jealous. That's what that scripture is saying. Say, are you jealous for me? Get it back. Get it back. King James is fine. Now look at this. Would God that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord will put his spirit upon them. Oh, you didn't say that. Can I read this in the NIV? NIV. Are you jealous for my sake? I wish that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord will put his spirit on them. Hold on. So what does this mean? Is Moses implying that the spirit was not upon all the children of Israel at this time? Was that what he was implying? That even though they were God's people, that the spirit was not upon them? Because Moses was saying, I pray, I wish, I desire that all of the Lord's people will have this spiritual encounter where the spirit will be poured on them, resting on them. You know, he said, I wish, I desire that this would be so.